How many of you know when you're a part of the house of God, there's covering over your life? There's protection. I remember I was a teenager, and I sometimes could be, what's the word I want to use? Difficult. Who said that down here? Whoever that is, we just want to rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I was always, cutting up and agitating and difficult, yeah. Anyway, I was at McDonald's with some friends, and there was this girl coming in McDonald's. I mean, I was a senior in high school, and I was playing football, and I worked out. I was in fairly good shape, and so I was just talking to her. I was like, "Hey, where are you from?" You know, we live outside of D.C., and she just came into McDonald's, and I didn't know who she was, and these guys dared me to talk to her, and I did. So I started talking to her, and they said, "You better leave her alone." I said, "No, I'm going to talk to her." So I went to talk to her, but what I didn't know about the next 2 minutes later, in walked her boyfriend. And he's like 6'3", and he's got on a leather vest, and he's carrying like a German-made helmet in his hand. And I come to find out he's a motorcycle guy. And I'm like, well, that's okay, it's fine. And all of a sudden, I kept talking to him, and I started cutting up, and then he started saying stuff to me, and I started saying stuff back. How many of you know trash talking is something you probably ought not do? But I did. So at that point in time in my life, I had a 1977, excuse me. No, it wasn't even that. It was 1967. Let me get in the right year. It was a 1967 Ford Falcon. I don't know how many of you remember a 1967 Ford Falcon, but they are not the quickest thing in town. And my dad bought it for me because we rebuilt it. We got more money in Bondo putting it back together than we did in actually the car cost. It was just a wreck. We put it back together. Dad thought that'd be a great thing for me to drive to begin with. So anyway, I come walking out, and all of a sudden I realized I made this guy mad, but he was not by himself. He was with a whole motorcycle gang. There was like 40 of them. I get in my little Ford Falcon. I thought, well, I'm going to go home. Next thing I know, the motorcycle gang pulls out from behind me and starts following me. And then they pull up beside me trying to force me off the road. By this time, I'm getting a little bit nervous because I'm now by myself. All my friends are still at McDonald's. So I'm 17 years old, and I'm a big football player, but I'll tell you one thing I knew, I'm headed home. I'm going home. And so because there was no cell phones, I couldn't call my dad. It was in the summertime. They actually had the windows up for some reason in their bedroom. I don't know why they didn't have the air conditioner on, but they had the windows up in their bedroom. So I come screaming around the curve in our neighborhood, and I'm sure my dad heard me, my little Ford Falcon, and it was behind me, and just motorcycles everywhere. I jumped out. I squealed into our driveway. I jumped out of the car, and I hollered, "Daddy! Daddy!" And I don't know if he heard the motorcycle gang coming. I don't know what he did. But my dad had jumped up. And my dad always had a pistol that was in the closet right next to his bed. And my dad jumped up. He had on a tank top T-shirt and boxer shorts. And out in the front yard, in the silhouette of the moon, here came my dad in his boxer shorts and little T-shirt. All these motorcycle gang. And my dad cocks that 357 pistol. And he said, "Boy, you get in the house, and what's the rest of you got to say?" And one by one, the motorcycle guys just drove on off. They just drove on off. Drove on off. You say, why'd you tell that story? Because the key for my dad was not stand here and fight these people with me. The key for my dad was, get in the house. If you get in the house, I can take care of the situation. But as long as you're out here, I can't take care of the situation. I came to tell somebody today, the reason the devil's not left you is because you ain't decided yet to get in the house. The reason he won't leave you alone is you're out there still trying to fight the motorcycle gangs all by yourself. But if you'll just pull up to Father's house and scream, "Daddy God," he's going to walk out into the middle of the affairs of your life and say, "I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you, and everything that looks like it's coming against you, you get in the house and I'll take care of your adversaries." Does anybody in the building know what I'm talking about?